Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is Anthony. I'm a tech founder and a software engineer, and I want to talk to you guys about product market fit. Something that if I knew 4 years ago when I started my first startup, it could have saved me literally years if I understood the formula of how to find product market fit. And even if I understood how important finding product market fit is in the first place. And I didn't come up with any of this stuff myself. This is all things that I learned from being on the field for the past 4 years trying to build a startup, but also from much more amazing founders than me, who I will leave a bunch of links in the description. In particular, there are 5 specific pieces of content that really spoke to me, and I'm going to leave those in the description. I'm also going to cover them later in the video as well. But the first thing to understand is, what is product market fit? And it is essentially the idea that your product solves a real problem for your customer. You have identified a real problem that they are having, and it's not just some problem they might have once in a while and might need a tool intermediately for you. This is usually something that is either mission critical, as in they cannot live without it once you give it to them. It is something that is going to save them hours in their day-to-day process and alleviate a lot of pain and time in their day-to-day processes. And it sounds intuitive and easy, but I learned over the past 4 years that it is not. And sometimes as a founder, it is really easy to fall into the trap of, number one, just pretending that you know everything about what your target audience is doing, and that the way to find product market fit is just coming up with ideas in your own head and trying to be some like Steve Jobs type like genius. And that's exactly what I was doing, and that's why I wasted literally years. I thought that the ideas had to come from my own head, and they were ideas that I had to be like, if I'm going to be the CEO, I have to like understand this, and like, oh yeah, the next thing we should build is this, and it's just all coming from my head. The other mistake I made frequently, and I think a lot of founders make frequently, is you sort of go into building mode, and when you're in building mode, you think more about the technology, and you let the technology lead the direction of the product of what you're trying to build, instead of the actual consumers and the problems that your customers are having leading the problem. And it's so easy to fall into these two traps. I know it sounds super intuitive and super like, yeah, of course, you got to listen to your customer and build something they actually want. But in practice, the formula for doing that is a lot different than what a lot of people think it is. And I'm going to go and give you guys what I think is the formula. So first of all, I think you have to have chosen a proper market. And what I mean by this is you have to understand what you're trying to accomplish. And for my esports business, we wanted to target the top 100 teams in the scene. And if you do the math, 100 teams, even if you're selling them $100 each, it's not going to be $1 billion business anytime soon. So if you're trying to run a lifestyle business, it's probably okay to have a total available market that isn't that high. But if you're trying to do sort of something on $1 billion scale, you have to make sure you're super conscious of the audience and the market you're actually going into, depending on what your goals are for the actual business. Once you've figured out who you want to sell to, then we can start the formula of finding product market fit for those people. I think the actual formula for finding product market fit looks something like this. You are talking to at least 3 to 5 customers every single day, or potential customers if you are just starting out. You are trying to identify very similar things that they are doing on a day-to-day basis that they could be saving time on and you could automate. So that is pretty much like, for example, if you're trying to target brands, you need to know who in those brands is your product for. Are you targeting the marketers that work for those brands? Let's say you are. If you're targeting the marketers of those brands, you need to talk to like 30 of these marketers every single week and understand what is that common thing that they're doing that isn't going to change. It's sort of mission critical. They have to do it in order to get good results, and could be automated by you and your team and your product. And it's something that might be painful for them to do. It might just take up a lot of time and be annoying. And it's something that they didn't even realize could be automated, and allows them to focus on more important things or other important things within their day-to-day process. Once you have identified that common thing that they are all doing, to the point where you are sort of sick of hearing them say it, or to the point where you sort of take it for granted that this is just something that they do, once you get to that point, I think you found a good problem to solve. And from there, you can start iterating and actually trying to find a solution on it. And it's such an interesting process, because a lot of the times we come up with an idea, we might tell a couple, 2 or 3 people, but then in reality, you ask yourselves like, okay, Could I envision them using this on a day-to-day basis? And that's already the wrong question to ask, because the real question you should be asking is, of the 30 people I have talked to in the last 1 to 2 weeks, are a lot of them doing something that this would replace? Is this actually going to be useful for them on a day-to-day basis to the point where they would pay monthly, they would not be willing to cancel because the alternative is going back to doing 2 to 3 hours of work a day instead of using your tool, which cuts the time down to maybe 15 minutes a day? That is a really good indicator. Other good indicators include, like, have they tried building something themselves, or have all these like brands, for example, tried building a tool internally that could solve this same problem? If so, you're probably on the right track. And that's something that we've seen for our current startup, and we are trying to look a lot more into. Now, there's other interesting thing that I've noticed from all these videos and all these things I've read of more successful founders than me. So here, let me quickly go over what I have. So number one, this guy, John Kim, is the CEO of Sendbird, and he talks about like the importance of talking to a bunch of people and understanding their problem. And he'll go through and tell you, like, once you actually have customers, he will be talking to 3 to 5 of them throughout the course of the company. And he still ends up like, within 24 hours of talking to them, he will respond to them with like if they had a feature request, whether or not they can do it. And if they can, he'll usually update them and ship the feature within a week. So this video is amazing. All these links will be in the description. This video by Jack Altman, he talks about the idea and the importance of talking to customers, and like the whole idea of that you should be so sick of hearing the same thing over and over again, and that's how you know you found like a good problem to solve. We have Christina, who is the CEO of Vanta, and this video was actually really enlightening. I think she has run Vanta for the past 6 years, and it was only like a couple of years into the business that she actually found product market fit. Then we have the guy over here who is actually the owner of Weebly. This is a longer video posted by a Y Combinator talk. It's around an hour, and there's like a whole bunch of really good insights in here. I'd recommend watching it just as a whole. But then one of my favorite things that I have looked at is actually some dude 10 days ago made a post in the Y Combinator subreddit, which I love reading. And they talked about how Retool, I didn't even hear about this company until like I read this post. They were a winter 17 company, 2017 company in Y Combinator. And they essentially went from nothing to like a $3 billion company. And this guy like did a whole bunch of research and documented their entire path. And reading this is what sort of like blew my mind 10 days ago. I sort of connected all the dots from like my last business to what I'm doing right now in this business. And there's one particular thing that I think this post illuminated and Vanta illuminated, which was they were doing a bunch of cold outreach to like prospect B2B companies. And all of their outreach, they sort of figured out that like the way they positioned their product, so both of them built their product, and like just like my company right now, it had like a bunch of different things that it did. And like, you know, when we pitched those products to our potential customers, like, hey, we have this product, it can do this, it can do this, it can do this. It's supposed to help your marketing team save time or whatever. Both of them found that when they started pitching their product differently, like the product's the exact same, but when they started pitching their product differently in that initial cold outreach email, they would start to get a bunch of different results depending on how they pitched it. So if you pitch your company as like this tool for marketers, it's like, okay, but if you pitched the company as like, yeah, we save your marketing team 3 hours because we find you the perfect influencer for your brand, for example, that's just like some weird example. If all of a sudden you started pitching it like that, and you saw the responses to your outbound increase by like 30%, that is sort of like a preamble indicator into understanding like what people actually want and whether or not you're on the right path to product market fit. Something as simple as how you frame your startup or how you pitch your startup to your potential customers can give you so much insights onto whether or not you are already on the path to product market fit or what you should try and lean more into. So let me give you a real example. Right now, our product does a couple of different things. You can like look up an Instagram user's profile and get a bunch of information about them. You can like look up a niche and see trending videos and advertisements in a niche. You can like do all kinds of like crazy filters to find influencers. And you can also have this advertisement search where I can search up like fitness and it will simply show me all the latest like advertisements and brands that have been advertising in the fitness industry. Now, we have all these sort of unrelated products. And when I pitched like the profile lookup, we didn't get much responses. But as soon as I started pitching the advertisements, it's like, hey, we have a tool that allows you to see other brands that are advertising in this space. And you can see like which creators are doing very good when they get paid to do advertisements and which creators aren't, we started seeing a lot more responses. And that sort of gives us an indication, okay, maybe these companies aren't spending that much time actually trying to find the perfect influencer for their brand, but maybe these agencies, for example, are actually having more trouble finding brands to work with for their creators than creators itself. And this is just like the initial step that is going to help us sort of narrow down where that product market fit is. And a good analogy that I've thought of in the last like couple months while thinking about this is you can think of your market as this giant like bubble. This giant circle is your market. When you launch your product is probably going to be like this circle. And this red box is like where product market fit. And your job is to try and get this circle, which is your product, into this little box that is called product market fit. When you initially talk to customers before you build, what you're doing is you're sort of narrowing down the general area that product market fit could be in. So for example, this rough green circle, after talking to people before you build, could indicate roughly where you might want to start building and roughly where your product might be. And then when you have your first launch, your product is probably going to be somewhere over here. It is very rare to have your product like end up over here on first launch. So then what you have to do is you have to talk to the right people. And every time you talk to a handful of people, you will get a small insight that will move your product a bit more in this direction. And then maybe in this direction. And then maybe in this direction. And then this direction. And you just keep doing that over and over and over again until finally your product, if you're lucky and you're doing it diligently, will end up in this small bubble called product market fit. And then once you get into that small square, you have to understand that the market is always changing. So while the product market fit bubble could have been over there, it could have easily over the last couple of months while you've been building or while you've been serving your customers, it could slowly be moving somewhere else. And the whole idea is you need to be continuously talking to people even after you've built so that you make sure that your product isn't left over here while product market fit is now over here. So you sort of move where your product is depending on where this red box is going. And as the industry develops and your customers like get more developed and stuff like that, this red box is going to continue to move through the lifetime of the market itself. And a lot of the times you need to make sure you're talking to the right people as well, because what happened in esports was we started off by talking to the wrong people and we started going in directions like this and this and this. And we ended up farther and farther away from product market fit than if we identified exactly who our market was and we talked to the actual people that would become our customers. And I thought this analogy was really cool when I thought about it and I came up with it, and I sort of live by this analogy now. And if I'm not building something that gets us closer down this like path, I'm talking to people to try and understand. And it really is just a cycle of like talking to people during the day, building at night, talking to people during the day, building at night, over and over and over again. And hopefully if you're talking to the right people and the stars align, you will eventually get to that product market fit. And it's just really interesting of a problem to solve because it's sort of a formula you can apply to any industry. However, I think one big reason they say you should be passionate about the industry you're in is number one, I talked about this in a different video, you're not going to end up quitting when things get hard. But number two, if you are already somebody that you're building a product for, you have a way better idea of where this little red box could be because you are the target customer, right? If you're building something for marketers and you happen to be a marketer yourself that has worked in influencer marketing for the past 3 years and you understand how other people are doing it, you understand how you're doing it, you're going to have a way bigger advantage of creating a tool that's going to help people because you are already in that red box by virtue of you working that job. So it's really insightful. And that's something that is sort of like what they call founder product fit, where you are like the exact right person to be doing this startup because you understand the industry as a whole. But don't get it twisted. It doesn't mean that you can just completely discount the idea of finding product market fit by talking to other customers. Just because you were in the industry and you did things one way doesn't mean everyone does it the same way. It does give you a head start, but you're still going to have to be talking to customers well into before you find product market fit and even the years after you find product market fit, which I think the years after is something that John Kim talks about a lot. But if you found value in this video, make sure you subscribe. I'm just documenting my journey as a tech founder, what I've done in the past, what I'm currently doing now. I'm like someone who loves doing tech founding stuff. And even if I had a company that sold for $1 billion, I'm probably just going to start another one. And this is what I'm going to do for the next like 60 years of my life. So if you want to follow that journey, let me know. If you have things I should cover, please tell me in the comments. I love hearing from you guys so I can find like the product market fit of my YouTube videos. So I'll see you guys in the next video.